So throughout the month of November, I'm interviewing men about men topics, topics that I think are unique to men, but that, quite frankly, the answers to the questions impact all of us, right? Because we live in the world together. And so this is in lead up to International Men's Day, which is November 19th, and Movember, which is obviously the month when we focus on men's health, yeah, men's health, and men's mental and physical health, and when you can grow a really kick-ass mustache if you want to. I'm not going to. But so- I know
I'm probably not going to either.
today I'm interviewing my friend and former colleague and office mate, quite frankly, Marcus Granström, who I worked with at Klarna and who I have managed to keep as a friend over all this time. And I wanted to chat about some topics. So why don't you introduce yourself and then we'll dive in and talk.
I'm Marcus. I am 43 years old, so I'm getting old.
Whoa.
I
I knew
live in
you when you
Sweden.
were in your 30s.
Yeah, well, those were the days. Those were the days. I live in Sweden. I have a wife and two young kids. They're 6 and 8, two boys. So yeah.
Wow.
And currently, I am taking some time off between jobs, so I'm not doing that much.
Awesome. So you have time for this.
I have time for this.
Okay. So listen, when I first met you, you were an architect, a technical architect on a team or for a space within the company, and you made the move to a leadership role, and then have just progressively taken on bigger and bigger leadership roles, right, over time. And one of the questions I was thinking about is, that movement from sort of high performing, high functioning rock star IC into a leadership role. What do you think the biggest lessons or changes were as you made that transition? I know that it was a while ago, but when you think about that progression of more and more leadership across time.
Good, very good question. I think for me it's been sort of natural obviously there's leadership, and then it's more formal leadership when it comes to people management
Yeah.
and all of that. I think the people management is the part where you have to adapt and learn quite a lot when you take on roles. At least it was so for me. Sort of that doing the natural sort of execution leadership was sort of part of my daily go-to. But then
Your strong,
yeah, it is my strongest.
getting shit done. Your strong suit.
Yeah, it is my strongest side. But then also, I don't think. I think it's also that once you become a people manager, a leader of people, sort of, and have some sort of people responsibility. In the beginning, you try to do, or at least I did. I believe a lot of others do the same. That you try to copy someone. You see someone how they do it, and you try to copy that. And I think it takes a while before you realize that you just have to be yourself, sort of.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have to find your own leadership style, and sure, there's practical things that you can copy from others, but sort of the emotional and how you connect with people is something that you probably need to be yourself to be able
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I do think that you're right. I think I think there are some people who are very naturally inclined to individual contributor roles. They like just being in delivery focus, and they're never necessarily a person that everyone says, oh, what are they going to do? And they don't follow them. Whereas I think there are people who have sort of this natural inclination to lead others, even when they don't have the official people management. And I sometimes wonder if that doesn't have some tie to playing sports and being in team.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I played a lot of sports, team sports when I was younger, and in a lot of those teams, been in sort of captain and leadership positions in those. So I think for me, it's always come naturally. I can't really say why, and I think one of the reasons why I wanted to do more leadership was to be able to have more impact. So I think because you are always limited as an IC. You can always be, there's some super impactful ICs, right? But
Yeah.
you're somewhat limited to some extent by your own by yourself. By being a leader, you can have more impact broader through
Yeah.
others. I think that really what in the end drove me to
Yeah.
really leap in.
And it's sort of that ability to scale ourselves, right? Like say, oh, I can do this really well. How do I spread that around a bit more and get more impact in the organization? So here's the thing that I'm really fascinated to talk to you about, like because I know you well. As I smile, you get like, okay, here we go. So here's the thing that I know about you. You are absolutely soft-hearted and mushy on the inside. You care deeply about people and are very drawn to and impacted by other people's concerns, pain, whatever. And you are, as I said, a natural delivery person. Like you drive hard, you're ambitious, you want to run at a fast pace, you want to make decisions quickly. I would love for you to talk about how you balance those two things because sometimes they can clash.
Yeah, they definitely can. How do I balance those things? I think it's about trying to at least. I think I have to put sometimes some sort of lid on my emotional and to some extent because I do think that especially in a work situation, right, that there's definitely stuff that that you obviously have to handle and manage conflicts if they
Yeah.
occur.
Yeah.
Sort of, and of course, there will always be situations when someone had something personal going on, sort of, and you have to help them. But at the same time, you have to sort of sometimes you have to suck it up as well. Sort of. I know you and I have spoken about this.
Yeah, I needed to suck it up. That's what you're saying, right?
No, but I do think that I usually don't see them in odds with each other. Sort of, I do believe
Yeah.
that if you're happy and comfortable and at work, you'll probably do good work as well. Sort of, so if you're stressed and anxious and worried and whatever it might
Yeah.
be, sort of, you probably won't do as good work. Sort of.
Yeah.
But I do think that the time that I spent on getting stuff done and taking care of people needs to be somewhat balanced, at
Yeah.
least. That's usually how I look at it.
Yeah.
But there is yeah, there's something there, and I think the sort of connecting with people and trying to, which is in my opinion, gets harder and harder the more senior you get, sort of, because when you're managing a team, it's easy to connect with each and every one, right, in your team. But when you're managing 20 teams, it's harder to connect with people, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But you still have to be able to show your whole self in one way too.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a really good point. I think there is I think I agree with you 100% that like people need to feel like they can bring their whole self to to work. Of course, you're not bringing every bit of your problems, but you are showing up as a human, right? And so whatever happened at home is going to show up in your day to day. But I also think there is a part of our responsibility as a leader is to challenge people and to push them and to get them moving and to motivate them. And so that often for me has taken connection in order to get people moving. And I want to run fast. I want to solve problems. I want to, move quickly too. And I know that sometimes that requires me to motivate people and drive them in a direction. Right. So I think that's really important. Yeah. So I think that's, and I think that there have been moments that I've seen, and certainly I think of a key moment where we sat down with our leadership team when we were leading together and had this kind of gushy, mushy offsite where we all sat in a room and cried. and I think what I always point to on that day was that you and I had to take the lead on being vulnerable. Like if we had just been like, you go first to some random engineering manager, they'd have been like, and this is my problem, right? But you and I both really kind of said, we're going to go deep. And we did. And I think it then opened the space. And I think about some of the relationships that were created in that space that have kind of lasted. And I think it was almost necessary. I mean, you and I had built that connection across time by getting to know each other, but the team didn't necessarily have it.
No, no, but and I think that's very important, right?
Yeah.
Being able to be vulnerable, and I think it is a little bit of a hack to be able to be vulnerable with others, sort of to shorten the time it takes to connect with someone. Sort of.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay, so let's talk about vulnerability and friendship. So, I mean, I know you to be able to have really deep, vulnerable conversations because that's the kind that I like to have, and you've met me there when I've pushed, right? And we over time sort of established that friendship. I mean, one of our first conversations was me saying, "You hate product managers," and you saying, "Yes, I do."
I don't think I said I hated them. I probably just said that they might
And only ever worked with one good one.
not needed, perhaps.
What I remember was, I mean, I like Jensen.
Yeah.
And I think it was followed with a quick, and you're okay.
You're okay. There you go. There you go.
And I was like, thanks, pal. This is going to go well.
No, but
No, but I think what I would really like to talk about, and I've talked about this with a few other people I've been interviewing, is
okay.
like male friendship and how you see it. I mean, you're a married guy, you work with women and men, you've seen different types of relationships, and I know you have male friends because I know some of your male friends, right? And I'm curious about how you think male friendship and female friendship differ.
Yeah, good question. Very good question. I think they somewhat differ in how connected you are. Sort of, I have a lot of male friends. I have a lot of friends that I've had since I was a young boy, right? And you can go months without me talking to them,
Right.
and then when we meet, it's like we haven't been apart
Right.
at all, sort of. While if I think about my wife, it's like, oh, I haven't spoken to her this week, and I'm like, okay, why would you? And no, but you have to keep up, and like, no, you don't.
You don't have to.
It's just the way it
Yeah.
is with women. So I think that is one of the big differences. I think that
Yeah.
men and women seem to be. There's less maintenance.
That's a good.
To some extent, or not necessarily with, but it seems to be between female to female, sort of that there's more maintenance
Yeah.
while
Yeah.
men, but also the same with me and females, sort of, that I have that are friends that I don't necessarily speak to them on a weekly basis or anything like that,
Right.
but when we do connect, it's sort of just picking up where we were, sort of.
Yeah.
And I think yeah, and then I think one of the things that is that a lot of my friends, we do a lot of activities, right? When we whatever it might be, we go running, we go whatever, skiing, whatever it might be, right? While women seem to be more about talking and hanging out.
Right.
I do like drinking wine as well, but that's also big.
Right.
So I think that's
Yeah.
maybe it's stereotyping as well a little bit, but that's.
I mean, I think there's always outliers, right? And we're talking about experience, so I think it makes sense. I think you're right. One of the things I read was that there is just a predominant behavior among male friendships is that it's centered around an activity. You play video games, you play sports, you go to bars, and watch a game. You do these things, right? And that women that we do those things, but they're not the reason we get together. They are it's like an avenue to being together, right? I remember telling my ex once that I needed to find a quiet place to go to dinner with my friend, and he was like, "Why?" And I was like, "Because I want to be able to hear her." And he said, "Oh," and it was just like, okay. Like he was more concerned about like the food, where were we going, what was there an activity before, what are we doing after, And I was like, no, I want to be able to hear her. And he was all, oh, okay, okay, whatever,
No, but I think I understand what he means.
No, totally. I get that. Do you feel like with your male friends, if something is going on with you, that you can you can ask for their advice and you get to a deeper place? Or is that tough?
I think that depends on what kind of thing that's going on, sort of.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it definitely about work or otherwise. I definitely have people that I can talk to and be very. But I think when it comes to other things like more feelings and those kind of things, maybe not so much. I think that is probably more harder, sort of.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I have a hypothesis that part of the reason so many of my clients are men is because I have this blend of being successful in the realm where you were successful, like we know in the technical realm, and being a woman. So that they can, if they want to go deeper, then they feel more comfortable than they would maybe with a male coach who they think might not hear them if they want to go deeper. So
yeah, maybe there's something in that, but it's definitely male. Probably.
Yeah.
But I think that's your sort of natural. Well, did you break up?
I'm there.
My internet connection is unstable, it says.
Oh,
excellent.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Yeah. No, but I do think that. That's probably true.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of what and talking to guys when I've talked to them and asked this question, like, why don't you talk to your friends? The answer is sort of like, I mean, it's risky, it's high stakes. If I'm going to talk about my feelings or my mental health or my physical health, or I just don't want to be that guy. Right. And so I think that's interesting because I think as women, we sort of crowdsource those things with each other and say like, have you ever had this experience? I haven't. Have this ever happened? And so we do this thing where we find out what our circle of friends has experienced, like if there's something physical going on with us. And it seems like men don't do as much of that.
No, never heard of that.
No, absolutely not.
No, that's not the thing. That's not something we do. At least not I.
Seems like you're missing a whole world of information by not talking to each other. So
I mean, we do talk to each other.
Just not about those things. Yeah. Interesting.
No, but it depends a little bit on what it is, right? Some of it is some of it is harder to talk about, but definitely other things are quite easy to talk about. Yeah. So I think it's where you draw the line and stuff like that. So
yeah, makes sense. So to close, I would love to ask you, you have 2 little boys. What do you hope for them as they grow up and as they become men? What do you hope they learn, and how do you hope they, go out into the world?
Wow, a big one.
Just a little light question.
Yes, to finish it off lightly. I hope that they grow up believing in themselves, and that they can do whatever they want to, that they keep their sort of kindness that both of them have, and that they continue to talk to me, sort of, even when they grow up, sort of, that I'm always here for them. I think that they, whatever they do, sort of, for me, that doesn't really matter. I think it's important that they're happy and that they're active and healthy. And there's a lot of the focus they do today is around sport and school, right? That's all they do basically.
Right.
So I think keeping that, having some sort of drive and motivation as well to do stuff, whatever it might be, if it's professionally or as a hobby or whatever it might be.
I love that. And I do think, I think what you just said is super interesting. Like a lot of what I've read is basically said that when dads stay safe for their children across time, they stay a safe space where the kids can come talk, that sometimes they actually learn that like I can have these other safe spaces. I can create other relationships that are more safe. Because they've seen it modeled in their ability to reach out to you and say, hey, I know you have some expectations for me, but I need to talk about this thing or whatever. I'm struggling, and having that space is so important.
I hope so. I mean, there's obviously the saying, small kids, small problems, right? So don't really have problems at the moment, right? They're just going on with the life, but when they do, I do really hope that they will come and talk to me.
Yeah.
Now they come and talk to me about what they think are big problems, but that's
not so big.
No, ridiculous problem.
You're like, oh, this is not a big problem, but let's pretend like it is, right?
Exactly.
It is huge.
When they actually have big problems, that they actually continue.
Yeah, that's great. I think they will.
I hope so.
I mean, I trust you with stuff, so, and I'm,
Yeah, well,
I mean, maybe my bad judgment. That's hard to say. Thanks for coming and talking to me.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. If you're watching this video, you'll notice there's a QR code in the corner if you want to donate to Movember this month. Movember raises awareness for men's health, like testicular and prostate cancer, but also men's mental and behavioral health, and helps to prevent suicide among men, which is at an all-time high. So if you want to donate, grab the QR code and share some money. So thanks, Marcus.
Thank you.